The Italian Wine Podcast is the community-driven platform for Italian wine geeks around the world. Support the show by donating at ItalianWinepodcast.com. Donate €5 or more and we'll send you a copy of our latest book, My Italian Grape Geek Journal, absolutely free. To get your free copy of My Italian Grape Geek Journal, click Support Us at ItalianWinepodcast.com or wherever you get your pods. Grazie mille.
Welcome to this special Italian Wine Podcast broadcast. This episode is a recording off Clubhouse, the popular drop-in audio chat. This Clubhouse session was taken from the Wine Business Club and Italian Wine Club. Listen in as wine lovers and experts alike engage in some great conversation on a range of topics in wine. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinepodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. And remember to subscribe and rate our show wherever you tune in.
Hello everyone, good afternoon from Italy. And I guess we're all located in Italy, right? Barbara, is it right? Are you still here?
I am still here, yes.
Okay. So good afternoon everyone. So today, this is our 121st episode on Clubhouse Ambassadors Corner. So it's been really a while now and everybody loves the show. It's still the favorite show on Italian Wine Podcast. So basically we don't have a lot of people now in the audience, but we are recording this and we will put it up on Italian Wine Podcast. Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, even Himalaya, all the way to China. So wherever you get your pods, we are there. For today's Clubhouse, we have Barbara. Before I begin asking you, Barbara, I will be introducing you to the audience. So she has a career of nearly 2 decades in the wine industry, and she is specializing in D2C marketing and business development. So recently you've talked about your specialization on Wine-to-Wine Business Forum just this week. So how did that go? Tell us more about it.
It went really well. I want to say thank you again to Stevie and the whole Wine to Wine team for inviting me to be there because it's such, I think, an exciting avenue for Italian wineries right now. There is so much potential. So it felt like, so buzzy to talk about it all. And it was so great to meet so many people who had questions about this and interest in starting it for their own wineries. So yeah, I was very happy to be there.
Thanks also for sharing that with, of course, our Italian wine producers who actually wanted to hear more about D2C. Barbara actually is part of the 4th generation of Italian-American family among the California wine industry pioneers. And she's a graduate from Syracuse University and returned to California to gain diverse industry perspectives from a range of wineries. So she's our Italian wine ambassador, and she brings her expertise on Italian wine market and coaching wineries in Italy and US strategically about the D2C channel in line with their brand values. So together with her husband, they own and operate a boutique wine production company and a small import company specializing in Italian wine to the US. Okay, Barbara, so why did you select for today Marco Mascellani as your favorite producer?
Well, I have a real love and soft spot in my heart for winemakers from Puglia and producing indigenous Pugliese grapes because I feel I spend a lot of time in Puglia and I feel like the world deserves to know that this is a place with quality grapes, great wines with a true sense of place. And I want the world to know these stories.
Yeah, actually, I'm sure there's really a lot. Actually, my first favorite wine is from Puglia. And I bet there's really a lot Italian winemakers from Puglia to show out there to the world. So what are the learning objectives that we should expect from this interview?
As I already touched on, first and foremost, I really want people to understand more fully the quality potential of wines from Puglia, as well as the wide range of grapes and styles. So hopefully you'll leave today knowing that Puglia isn't just Primitivo. I think we'll also learn specifically about Marco's path to wine, which is really unique and really of value for anyone interested in pursuing a career that maybe doesn't come from a wine family background or a multi-generational foundation. And Marco's also a consulting winemaker. So that's the last thing we'll be able to learn more about today is what that looks like in Italy, and the kind of potential that that position has, again, for somebody interested in pursuing it.
Okay, so lastly, how did you discover the wines of Livelli?
As I said, I'm in Puglia a lot. So I live in Puglia for about 3 months out of the year. So I first discovered Livelli back in 2015. It was a Verdeca that I had from them, and it was so bright and fresh and was the perfect antidote to the 40-degree summer day. And then I just kind of started falling in love with them. Every time I found them on a list, I would try them. I love also to just share the wines of Puglia with the world. And Puglia does not pay me to say this. It's truly from the heart that I want people to know how wonderful Puglia is.
Okay. So I wanted to also congratulate Marco because it's his first time on Clubhouse. He wouldn't be on Clubhouse without us. So so I will mute myself, and then now the floor is yours then.
Great. Marco, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. I'm here.
Well,
Hi, Barbara.
Hi, it's so great to talk to you again. I'm going to share a little bit of your biography, and then I'll ask you some questions. So you were born in Rome in 1981, and after high school, you studied viticulture and enology at the University of Perugia, graduated in 2005 with a thesis on Sagrantino's microoxygenation, which is so fascinating. Then in 2008, you moved to Puglia. You became the winemaker at Leone de Castres winery, a very historical winery in Puglia. And in 2019, you decided to work as a consulting winemaker. So you started collaborating with several wineries in regions all around central and southern Italy. In 2018, you were nominated by Food and Travel as one of the 3 best winemakers of the year. Congratulations. And in 2019, you were awarded by Vinoway as the best young Italian winemaker. And in 2021, Municipality of Guagnano appointed you as Negromaro Ambassador. I think it's really great, too, that you collaborate with the University of Salento on several research projects that aim to enhance native grapes in the area. And you want everyone to know that you love your wife and your 2 Apulian children, and that you hate wines with low acidity. I have to say, I'm right there with you.
Yes, it's true. It's me.
Well, let's get right into it, because I mentioned a little bit, in the learning objectives that you have a really interesting path to wine. So you're the first person in your family to work in wine. So can you tell us a little bit first, what is your background? And second, why did you decide to become a winemaker?
Wow. Hi, Barbara. Hi, everyone. I'm very, very glad to be here with you today. And for me, it's an honor to be here with you, to be like an ambassador of Italian wine, together your help. Yes, it's true. I'm the first person in my family to work in wine. Everything began when I was 17, when my family and I moved from Rome to Umbria. We left a big city to go in a very, very small village called Montecchio, close to Orvieto, because my parents decided to open a restaurant in that year. I've never visited a vineyard until I'm 17. I couldn't imagine to be a winemaker. In that years, I went to high school. During the weekend, I helped my parents in the restaurant, and I liked it. I loved it because I still love to meet new people, to talk with new people, to have a possibility to discover several stories. I loved it, and that's why I decided when I finished the school to work in the restaurant, but I wanted to increase the quality of services in our restaurant, and I wanted to learn more about wine in order to improve our services. And I started a sommelier course in Perugia. And then my life is changed because I don't remember, maybe the second or third lesson, we talked about the winemaking practices, and I fell in love because I could not imagine that inside a wine glass there was so many science, there were so many technologies. For me, it was like a shock, and I decided to leave everything to start my study at the University of Perugia, and I decided to be a winemaker.
That's wonderful. So then, as you started learning more about wine, were there any specific wines that really inspired you, or any specific producers that inspired you?
Yes, there was another thing that pushed me to make this choice, because in the years in Montecchio, in this little village in which my parents had a restaurant, the Cotarella's family, Riccardo Cotarella and his family, were building their new winery. I remember in the village, a lot of people talked about this, and they were very, very excited about this, because Riccardo Cotarella was a very important figure in our world. He was nominated the best winemaker in the world. He was considered the revolutionary winemaker for our country. I listened all these things about him, and when I decided to be a winemaker, remember, I wanted to try to work with him. During the study, at the end of my study, I decided to try to ask them if I could do an internship with them and with him, and I started to work with him. In the first moment, inside his winery, Falesco was the name. In the years now, it's called Famiglia Cotarella. From that, I started my collaboration with him that it lasted for 15 years. And at the moment, I have also some collaboration with him.
That is so wonderful. So what grapes was he focusing on in his winery?
They grow today a lot of varieties of grapes, like the white popular grapes of the Tarria, of Orvieto, and in particular, they believed in Rocchetto, that is a white grapes of the higher part of Lazio, because it's very, very close to Orvieto. Rocchetto is a typical grapes of the Tarria that they rediscovered to make a very important white wine. In the Tarria, they grow mainly international grapes like Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot especially.
Interesting. I've never heard of that. Rocchetto, is that the name of the grape?
Rocchetto is the name of the grape, yes. Rocchetto, yes.
So what kind of wine does it make? Is it aromatic? Is it a tannic white grape? What is it like?
They make from the grapes a very important, maybe the best important white wine of their winery, that is called Ferentano. Is a wine with structure and is aged in barrel. Is the best white wine of the winery. It's not aromatic grapes.
Wonderful. I have a new white wine to try now, so I'll keep an eye out for it. Let's talk a little bit about getting an enology degree in Italy. So is there some advice you might give to somebody who's considering pursuing that path in university?
I studied almost 20 years ago. Surely something changed from that moment. To get a degree in enology, you have to study a lot of chemistry and biology and microbiology. I studied chemistry of soil, chemistry of wine, biology of the soil, microbiology of the wine, biology of the plant, because it's the base of our study. But something changed in the last 10 years. I think a lot of university changed approach, because it's not only scientific subjects that are really important, obviously, because you have to know everything about that, but also there is more attention on the cultural story of the territory, because wine is chemistry, wine is a science, but it's also a story of people, story of territory, culture of territories. And I noticed that because during the meeting of Italian Enologists Associations, that is our association, a lot of collaborations with the universities all over in Italy. We do a lot of this kind of meeting in which we also talk about scientific process and scientific subjects, but it's not only this. We talk a lot about historical and also the market, because if you know everything about the story of this territory, you can improve your knowledge and you can understand better also the market trend. It's very important for us.
Yes, absolutely. So you are a consulting winemaker. So my first question is this a typical position in Italy? And my second question is, how do you start to we just spoke about how important it is for us to learn the more, the humanities of wine as we try to further Italian wine presence around the world. So as you consult for different places, how do you find out what is important to the territory from that aspect?
Yes, I'm consultant winemaker. It's a typical position in Italy because in Italy there are a lot of small wineries. And generally for small wineries, don't need a steady job, a winemaker employee, because the activities during the year is not so intense. For them, it's better to have a winemaker consultant. It's typical also because some other wineries, also big wineries, decided to have a consultant winemaker and a winemaker employee, a winemaker seller, because in their opinion, the figure of consultant can give a value to the winery because the consultant is able to have a lot of experiences, is able to make a lot of harvests in just one season. All these experiences could be a value for the winery in which the consultant work. You can take something from another region, from another people. You can take some idea and you can give this idea in another version maybe to another wineries. It's a wonderful net to collaboration among the wineries in which a consultant can work. And in my opinion, this is the reason why a lot of wineries decides to have this kind of figure.
So I was wondering, since you do make wine in different parts of Italy and even within Puglia, like I'll say the different parts of Puglia are so different. So how are you really learning what is important to each area from the humanities standpoint, from the cultural, the social standpoint, as well as just the science and the soil of the wine?
I work in several parts in Italy and Puglia too. Every winery in which I work and in each territory in which I work, for me, it's opportunity to have this relationship with my partner, I like to say my wineries, also if they aren't, it's clear, because there is a very strong connection with them. When I work in a new territory, first of all, I have to study in a very deep way the territory, because I have to know the story of this territory, because in my opinion, when you know the story of the winery and the territory, you have a good chance to achieve an important goal and to achieve your goal, that is make a good wine that is able to enhance the territory. This is our goal. This is my way to work, because when I go around the wineries and the territories, I always try to enhance in the best way possible the territory through the grapes that the territories are and through the owners with which I work.
And I really love that Italian sentiment that wine is not just meant to be beautiful, but it's really meant to valorize the place that it comes from. And I hear you guys talk about that so much. It's such a beautiful sentiment. You don't have to have owned a vineyard for 3 generations to work at that. You as a consultant can do that as well. Before we shift to our Posto del Cuore, Puglia, what other regions in Italy have you made wine?
I started in Umbria, in the first moment in Orvieto area, in a wonderful area for white wines, but also for red wines, because we talked about international grapes like Merlot and Cabernet. And then I made wine in Umbria, also in the Sagrantino's area, because after my internship in Cotrella's family, I moved to Montefalco and I worked there for some years, in particular with the Sagrantino, but also with Grechetto, that are another wonderful white grapes of Umbria. Since 2008, I've been living in Apulia. I've been working with Apulian grapes. 5 years ago, I decided to work as a consultant because I wanted to increase my knowledge, to increase my professional baggages. I decided to work also in other regions, because it's the only way to improve your knowledge. I made wine in Campania, Aglianico, Fiano, Greco, Falanghina, but I make wine in Abruzzo too, in Sicily, Tuscany. Tuscany is the northern region in which I work at the moment. I worked in the Chiantis area, I worked in Abruzzo in the Colline Pescaresi, in Sicily on the Etna, in several regions in the central and in the South Italy.
That's so amazing to have such experience in so many places. Let's focus now on I can't say it's my favorite because I love everywhere in Italy, but my love, Puglia. What inspired you to settle in Puglia?
Good question. I don't know. It was a natural choice because when I moved here in 15 years ago, ago, I thought that it would have been for some years to do an experience. Then I got married. My wife moved from Rome to Apulia. Our children are Apulian, were born here. I say we because it was a familiar choice. No? We didn't say that we remain in Apulia, we have to decide. It was a natural way, maybe because the quality of life is good. Lecce, that is the city in which we live, it's a wonderful city. I want to live in city because I work in the countryside. I go very often in the vineyards, in the wineries that very often they are in the countryside. And I want to live in the city because I need to live in the city. Lecce is a very, very small city because it's 100,000 people. It's perfect. It's to my size. In my opinion, it's a good city where the quality of life is good. And this is the reason. And the weather is wonderful. We have to see.
So maybe you agree with me that it's very easy to fall in love with Puglia?
I know because you did the same.
I did.
almost the same thing. Almost.
Yeah. Someday it'll be the same, but for now it's a good chunk of the year. So let's talk a little bit more now about grapes and vineyards and soils. So I don't think people realize maybe how diverse Puglia is from the north of the region to the south of the region. So can you talk a little bit about, Daumia, Alta Murgia, Bassa Murgia, Alto Salento? How are these all different from each other, from a soil perspective, from a climate perspective?
This is a very, very hard question. I think there isn't enough time to fully answer, but I'm going to try. You can stop me when you are bored, okay? Apulia is very, very big region. No? It's long and tight. It's like a little Italy. It's a peninsula, like Italy, and inside Apulia there are several sub-regions in which there are different climates and different soils and different conditions to grow different grapes. We can start our topic about Apulia from Salento's area. Salento is the southern part of the region. Salento included the three provinces, the Lecce, Brindisi, that is Lecce is the southeast city in the middle of the end of the land. To north of Lecce, in the west coast, we have Taranto. In the east coast, we have Brindisi. And there is like a triangle among these three cities. All this area is called Salento. Salento, the particularity of a region of Apulian, but of Italy in general, we can say, because when you talk about Italian wines, Italian grapes, you know that one of the strong points of Italian wines is biodiversity, because we have a lot of varieties in every region. Each region has the indigenous grapes, and Apulia has a lot of indigenous grapes, and each province of Apulia has an indigenous grape, at least an indigenous grape. And this is a wonderful opportunity for us that we work with all this diversity. The southern part of Salento is the land of Negramaro, all the province of Lecce, and also some part of the province of Brindisi, because there are some villages like Cellino San Marco and San Donaci, San Pancrazio that are in the province of Brindisi, but are very, very important for the cultivation of Negramaro. But also in Salento's area, in the lower Salento, in the land of Negramaro, we can have a different soils. We have the lower part of Salento that is called the Grecia Salentina, because a lot of influence from Greece. In this area, there are Negramaro-like main grape, but the soils are different from the other part of Salento, because here we have the soils are more drainant, have more stones and less clay, and we have also some little hills, because we can achieve 100 meters above the sea level. It's unusual for the Salento's area. And in this area, we can make red wine or roasted wine from Negramaro more fresh and more elegant, maybe less concentrated, with less alcohol compared to the other part of Salento, the North Salento, in which we have the Negro Amaro, how we know, because it's the very, very strong Negro Amaro with a lot of structures, with a lot of tannins, with a lot of color. So we can make from the north part of Salento some wines more structured. The particularity is that if we go to north, we arrived in the west coast, in the Primitivos area, province of Taranto, we have Mandurias area, and in the west coast we have the east coast we have the province of Brindisi, in which we can find Susumagnello, that is another grapes. Primitivo, you know.
Yes, and maybe can you explain, because some people might not know what Susumagnello is even like. So I would wager to say most everyone knows what Primitivo is, but can you explain a little bit what Susumagnello is like?
Yes. I'm here for this reason. Okay, now Primitivo, everyone knows Primitivo. Primitivo is a very, very important grapes and wines for Apulian wineries and for Apulian people in general. Susumagnello is a minority because there is less Susumagnello than Primitivo and Negro Amaro, but in the last 20 years, it was rediscovered from some wineries that believed in these grapes, because Susumagnello means little donkey. The origin of the name was because the vines are able to maintain a very high quantity of grapes, of bunches. The problem was that this quantity, when you leave the vineyard of Susumagnello, produce as possible it can, Susumagnello, the grapes don't achieve the ripeness. If the grapes don't achieve the ripeness, it's a problem for the quality of the wine. This is the reason because in the past, Susumagnello was abandoned because it didn't have value. Nobody wanted to buy. But in the last 20 years, we understood that if you manage the vineyard in the right way, if you are able to maintain the yield lower than Susumagnello, the vineyard, it could, you can have very, very interesting results. And the wine are different from Negro Amaro and Primitivo because have more color, specific spices, flavors, has a good tannins, and it's a very, very interesting wine. You can do wonderful Susumagnello in the red version and in rosé version too.
It's really important, though, for people to note. So, like you said, everyone probably knows Negro Amaro and knows Primitivo. And there are some really beautiful expressions of these wines, especially like I told you, I had your Pezza Morgano Negro Amaro from Livelli. And
yes.
But they're bigger wines. They're bigger, they're darker, they're richer. And I think Susumagnello is a really beautiful example that Puglia, this place that is so hot, can produce wines that are really also delicate and not a little bit more medium on the scale, a little bit more dialed back.
I agree with you. Yes.
So
I agree with you.
That's an important thing for everyone to know. There's such a diversity of styles of grapes and styles of wine in Puglia.
Yes, it's true. This is one of our challenges for the future, in my opinion, because we have a lot of varieties all over in the region. We have to enhance our varieties and our territories, making wines that the market could be appreciated. We have to make more drinkable wines. And in Apulia, we have also wonderful white grapes. If we continue our journey through the Apulia, we go to north of Salento's area, we arrive in Valle d'Itria. That is another wonderful area in which we have Verdeca. That is a very important white grapes. We have Minutolo. Here, the landscape is changed. The climate conditions are very different from the Salento. If we enter in another region, because the climate is almost continental, no? Because in the winter very often snows. In the summer there is a very important thermal excursion between night and day, and it's a perfect territory for white grapes and for making white wines. That's why it's a perfect area for white wines.
And maybe for anybody who doesn't know, can you give like just a brief description of what Verdeca is like versus Minutolo?
Yes. With pleasure. Verdeca is maybe the most important white grapes for Apulia, maybe also the most popular grapes and the most popular wines, also outside of the Puglia. The most part of the customers of Verdeca are in Apulia. Verdeca is an indigenous grape that comes from Valle d'Itria's area. Valle d'Itria is a hilly territory, has a karst soil, very drainant soil, about 300 meters, 350 meters above sea level. We have a perfect condition for white grapes. The Verdeca and the Minucolo are the main grapes of this area. Verdeca is very, very fresh wines. It's able to arrive to the ripeness with high level of acidity. That this is really important if we want to make an important white wine. And that's why the Verdeca found a perfect condition also in the Salentos area, because Verdeca was born in Valle d'Itria, in which there is a perfect condition for it. It is able to maintain this high level of acidity during the ripeness. It's perfect also for the hot territory like Salento. Minutolo, instead, is an aromatic grapes. In the past was called Piano Minutolo, but it was wrong because in the past they thought that the Minutolo was included in the big family of Piano, but it wasn't true. And when they noticed that, they decided to change the name because Minutolo is aromatic, is an aromatic grape, is an aromatic variety, is included in the Moscatos family. Very, very aromatic wines. It's very drinkable wine because it has a lot of flavors, but in my opinion, we have to work to try to improve the knowledge of Minutolo because, in my opinion, it's a wine that can age for a lot of years because after some years in bottle, after some years in the still tank, is able to become another wine, but very, very interesting wine. It has, after some years of age, less flavors, less intensity, but it's very, very interesting because it becomes more complex.
Italian Wine Podcast, brought to you by Mama Jumbo Shrimp.
And it still has that fantastic acid that we all love in our wines.
Yes.
But I think specifically, you do make the wines for Livelli, which is a fantastic producer in Puglia. And what's really exciting is I know in the US, at least, it's pretty easy to find both Livelli Verdeca and Livelli Sussumagnello. So if anybody is interested, at least in the United States, in finding these wines, trying these grapes, I know that they are available. And then hopefully also other parts of Europe and Asia, they're easy to find too. I want to make sure we have time for a few more questions. But before we go on, can you talk a little bit about the northern side of Puglia? Because I think that is really what people have no idea that it is what it is. Like up in Foggia and
Costa del Monte, Murgia. Yes, we continue our journey through the Puglia. If we continue to go to north, we arrived in Lower Murgia, and in particular in Gioia del Colle's area, in which we have the village like Acquaviva, Gioia del Colle, Castano Murgia. That is very important area for Primitivo. It's wonderful, this thing, because we have two incredible different areas for the same grape. If you taste Primitivo wines that come from Gioia del Colle, you can taste the difference from the Manduria because the grape achieved the ripeness 1 month later in Gioia del Colle. Here we are about 350 meters above sea level, and in the Mandurias area we are in plain. It's another climate, it's another soils, and they are two different wines. Also in the Gioia del Colle area, you can achieve a good concentration in terms of alcohols, but generally you can find in the wines of Gioia del Colle less color, more acidity, more freshness. It's more vertical like wines than Manduria, in which we find the structure, full body, and the power. They are two different wines. It's a very interesting thing.
Can I ask too, for Primitivo specifically, do you know, is it a specific clone that grows in Gioia del Colle and a different clone that grows in Manduria, or is it all the same
In origin, was all the same because it was a massive selection. It wasn't a clone. Now we are selecting different clones from the two areas. The main difference between the two areas are the climate condition and the soils.
It's considerably cooler also in, up in Castel del Monte and Foggia.
Yes. If the next stop is Castel del Monte, is Higher Murgia. Here we have a lot of varieties of grapes because in Castel del Monte's area we begin to meet Nero di Troia, that is another king of our region, but we find also Bombino Bianco, Bombino Nero, and also Aglianico, Fiano, Greco, that are the other varieties that is not considered typical of Apulia, but in this area they have been staying for centuries.
Because that area also does border Campania, right?
Yes, Campania, and also beside to Basilicata. It's a land in which we have close to other regions. We can have influence from the other regions. Aglianico also is very, very important grape for Basilicata, for the Vultures area. Nero di Troia, we begin to meet Nero di Troia in this area. The Nero di Troia arrives until the end of Apulia, because in all the Daunia we go to north and we go down from the hills. We come back in the plain in this area, and that is a very, very big area, the Daunia, the Tavoliere, that is all the province of Foggia and part of the north of Bari, and the Nero di Troia in this area is absolutely the most important grape. I love Nero di Troia because it's another very, very particular grapes, because it doesn't have a lot of color. It has a good level of tannins. I don't like to compare the grapes, but to give an idea, you can compare it with Gaglioppo or Nebbiolo, to mention a very popular grape. But it's different, obviously. But we can,
for a point of reference,
something in common.
Yeah.
For Apulian wine is a grape with less color, but has a very important tannins and has a very important structure. Is perfect to make wine for aging, and also to make rosé wine. A wonderful rosé wine in Apulia was made also from Bombino, from Negramaro, obviously in the Salentos area, but we can make rosé wine from a lot of grapes in Apulia, because we are lucky to have this biodiversity. All of these grapes are very, very versatile.
This is for one region to have so many, autochthonous grapes that is still really producing in large quantities is pretty impressive. So I think that is something so special that Puglia does. I want to make sure too, we have this, I think a really important thing I want to talk about is how viticulture and production has really evolved over the years. So can you tell me, well, first of all, how is viticulture and production evolving over the time that you've been there? Because you've been there in a period where it's really been shifting towards some really quality winemaking. And also, how is it evolving with changing consumer preferences? So maybe consumers want less alcohol or less powerful wines.
Yes, the viticulture is changed and is still changing, because the key word is sustainability, like everywhere. We know this. We have to work in order to achieve this goal. That it became the first important thing. When you work in viticulture, you have to consider this. You can't think the quality of the grapes without consider sustainability. And in my opinion, sustainability doesn't mean organic. You can obtain a wonderful and sustainable wine from organic, but you can make also a wonderful and sustainable wine from conventional if you work in this way and if you have the scientific knowledge, because the key in order to arrive to achieve our goal is this. We have to continue to study, to increase our knowledge in order to arrive to make wine in the best way possible in terms of sustainability. This is the key, and everyone is going in this direction. And I think that your second question was about the customers, the market, the trend of the market, that we are changing our style now. We notice that In the past, in Apulia, we made very, very full-bodied wine. It is part of our wine story, no? Because in the beginning, when in Apulia, people started to make wine, the reason of the making wine was to sell this wine like a bulk wine to the northern region to improve the lighter wines of the other regions. The Apulian wines were born in this way. It needed to have structure, high concentration, high color. Now we notice that we can make a wonderful without arrive to have this undrinkable structure. Mm-hmm. The market goes in this direction. The customers want these kind of wines now, no? Because also the kitchen is changed. The dishes of today doesn't need anymore to be paired with very structured wines, but it needed to fresher wine, to drinkable wines. And this is our challenge, in my opinion, and this is our style is changing in these years.
Yes. Well, we have just 3 minutes left, so we're going to have to wrap it up, but I want to talk really briefly in this 3 minutes about Puglia is having such a moment. Everybody suddenly is traveling to Puglia, and I think that is so fantastic. I want to see that continuing to happen, continuing to grow. But what do you think is the biggest challenge for Puglia at the moment? And, what is your hope for Puglia in the future?
For Apulia in general, not for Apulia, for a wine Puglia.
No, wine. We'll talk about wine.
Well, okay. For wine, our most important challenge maybe is to continue in this road, to have the ability to understand the market trend, to show our region, our territories through our wines made in a right way, in a contemporary way. And we have to consider this because we have to make more elegant wine than the past, more drinkable wine. And this is our most important challenge. I'm sure about this. For Apulian in general, Apulia is a very, very important region for the Italian tourism because during the summer, during the spring, a lot of people can come here because it's a wonderful land, because you can find everything here, wonderful food, a wonderful sea, a wonderful waiter, a wonderful wines, obviously. And
don't forget wonderful people.
Wonderful people too, yes. And we have to maintain this charm. We have to work to maintain this charm because it's really important to improve the popularity of the region all over in the world.
Yes. I want to just conclude by saying that I have been traveling to to Puglia every year since 2015, and I have seen your journey in wine, in Puglian wine since 2015, going in the exact direction that you're talking about, and people really starting to pay, I think producers starting to pay close attention to this beautiful quality in their wines. And every year I'm excited to go back and try the next iteration. So I just couldn't be more excited for Puglia in general. And I thank you so much for your time and your knowledge and your also love and appreciation for this beautiful part of Italy.
Thank you very much. It was a privilege for me to be here with you today.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Barbara and Marco, for taking us to Puglia online. I
hope everyone goes and books a trip right now.
Exactly. Thank you so much. And before I close up the room, I just wanted to say that next week is our next Clubhouse Ambassadors Corner. It's going to be on Tuesday at 3:30 p.m. It's actually Eric Schneider's birthday, and he wants to do a Clubhouse with Federico Ceretto. So that's going to be it. And thanks, everyone. And good night.
Grazie.
Grazie. Ciao.
Grazie a tutti. Ciao.
Ciao.
Swirl, sniff, sniff.
Listen to the Italian Wine Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Himalaya FM, and more. Don't forget to subscribe and rate the show. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinePodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. Until next time, cin cin.